if you are currently manually extracting names from big long lists of email addresses, stop right now, because Excel can automate it completely for you with virtually no effort at all. I'll show you 5 examples of how to do it coming up. Hi, I'm John, a qualified accountant with 25 years real world Excel experience. And if you want to save time and get better Excel results faster, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything. Now, today I'm talking about extracting names from email addresses. And of course, this is techniques I'm going to go through today could equally be applied for extracting any text out of pretty much anything. Imagine that you're going to just do this as a one-off and you've copied and pasted a big long list of emails. I've got literally like 500 odd here or something. I've copied and pasted them straight from, say, Outlook into Excel. They've appeared like this. And I just want to get the list of names because I want to know, who this email went to. And I can use a technique in Excel called flash fill to extract pretty much any information from this, basically instantly. So if you take like any of these names and you start typing, so like say I want to extract the first name of everybody in that list. So type Ivan there and hit enter. And of course, nothing's going to happen. If I go back on that and hit Control E, which is the shortcut key for flash fill, instantly it recognizes the pattern and it will go down through all these email addresses here and pull out the first name. Now, you've got to be a little bit careful because, it's recognizing a pattern, and if there's something not right about that pattern, it might not work. But it's instant, right? It's instant. So if you want to do this as a one-off, and maybe you've got like 20 of them or something like that, we can instantly see if it's gone wrong. Absolutely brilliant. But of course, that was fairly straightforward, just the first name. But what if, I type in the whole of his name now? So I picked a bit of a longish one really as an example, but I changed that to that, and you can see it picked up the pattern and applied it to everything else. And the reason it did that is because I changed the same name. If I changed this one, for example, it might not have worked. So I'm just going to undo all of that a minute and show you why you could use this to extract, say, a surname. So if I just go down to one that's nice and short like this one and do hi saw, and then back on there, Control E, going to pick up all of those second names from within. So it's actually picked up something from within the middle of the data. Flash fill, I'm hitting Control E, but if I wanted to get to it on the menu, it's on the home menu there, and it's fill and flash fill. And you can use this for all sorts of things. So I want to know, say, the domain name there. So this one's Yahoo, so I could just put yahoo.com, for example, and we're picking them all up here. All the different domains. So that'd be a really good way of like picking up that data if you wanted to, say, filter it to just particular domains or something like that. So that's flash fill. You can use it to pick up any part of text from anything else. Just be a little bit careful if you've got big long lists like this. I wouldn't want to sort of 100% rely on this if I was using it for something official. If you do need something more reliable or it's not a one-off, then let's move on and use some functions to do something similar. Okay, I've got the exact same list of email addresses here. So again, 400 and something, right? This time they're slightly different, yeah, because I've got the last name, a comma, and then the first name, and then the email address, which is in kind of triangular brackets. So it's something similar, but there's a definite pattern there. But we want to be able to kind of send this out, or we want to automate this and use maybe the names in other parts of the report or something like that. So we want to do it with formulas so it can be nice and consistent and repeatable, and we know it's going to work. So how are we going to go about doing that? Well, at the moment I've got a big long list like this, and I'm going to start using formulas. I want to save myself a bit of time, so I'm just going to turn this into an Excel table. Now you could do insert and table on the menu, or Control T, shortcut key. Make sure you've got my table has headers ticked, if assuming you have, and hit OK. I don't like that table design, so I'm just going to change it to that one and make that the default for now. So let's we've got our table, we need to start extracting data. So first off, we want to start recognizing the patterns. Yeah. So we know that the first name is after a comma, the last name's on the left. We know that the email address starts with this triangular bracket. So I think I'll just break this formula up a bit and sort of go, right, okay, let's find some flags and some things in common in the patterns and detect where they are. So I'm going to detect where the comma is on every row, because that's a key piece of information, and also where that triangle is. And from that, I'm going to be able to pull out the name. So let's go ahead. So if I put the comma position as a column title there, and we're going to find the column. So I'm going to use the find function, so a text-based function. It allows you to find any text within another text and return a number. So what do we want to find? We need to put it in quotes. We want to find a comma. We want to find it in the email address. We hit enter. Beauty of a table is straight down. Don't need to, don't need to copy and paste that formula down or anything. We know it's consistent. We know it's reliable. Can't be a mistake. So this tells us it's in position 11. So this one, for example, it's nice and short. Well, let's pick that one. We know it's 5 letters. Comma is position number 6. So quick sort of spot check, really, that we're looking at the right kind of thing. So that's the first one. The next one, then, we might as well use the something like this, because we know that we've only got 4 characters. So we can we know what result we're looking for the triangle. So let's try and find the triangle. Exactly the same kind of formula. Find that within that text. And another great thing about a table, it doesn't matter where you enter that. It's going to, fit it all the way down and back up. Gives it a ridiculous column name, but let's just change that. And so, did we get something sensible? Well, if the comma's at position 9, and we know it is, then it looks like probably something like 16 is about right. We've got a space, then the 4 characters of Laura, then another space, so that's kind of 6, and then that one will be the 7th, so 9 plus 7, yeah, 16. Great. Okay, so we got our key sort of position markers flagged up now, and if we wanted to extract other pieces of text, we could use similar things to find like the @ symbol or anything else that's in we've got in common, like dots or stuff. And what we're going to do with that, right? So first off, let's get the last name. That's a nice and simple one. So last name, right? And that is everything to the left of the comma. So we know where the comma is. So we're just going to use the function left, which turns everything to the left. So what text do we want? So it's this text here. And I'm using the arrow keys, by the way, to select that. How many characters do we want? Well, we want the first 11. But we don't actually want 11 because 11 is the comma. If I put that on, for example, it's just, you'll see it picks up the comma as well. We don't want the comma. So F2 to go back in. Let's take 1 off of that position number so that we sort of remove that comma. Okay, so we've got our last name now. Now we want the first name. So where is the first name? So it's not at the left, so we can't use the left. And it probably won't surprise you to find out that there's a text function called right, which would take everything to the right. We can't use that. But it's in the middle. So have we got one more called middle? Well, it's not called middle, but it is called mid. So it's fairly simple to remember. Mid, and this is a very flexible function. This is one of my 33 fantastic Excel functions. And if you want to get your hands on the cheat sheet for that, plus a library of all the Excel functions, there's a link in the description. So make sure you go and have a look at that completely free. But mid, as you can see, you say what text you want to go on. So you say that text, and then you say where you want to start and where you want to finish. So you can pick any position within the text. So where are we going to start? We're trying to find the first name. Well, we know that, so we want to pick up that text. The start number, well, if we start there at the comma, and then we add 2, because we've got the comma itself and then the space, we're going to start at the beginning of the first name, which is great, right? And then it says number of characters. Now, we know the position where the email address starts, it's that one. So we know that minus the first one is going to give us those 2 sort of positions, is going to give us everything between the comma and the arrow, but it will also include those positions. So we just need to take something off of that. So we need to take 3 off of that. So it's the comma and the 2 spaces. So we'll do that. And that, in theory, should give us what we need. And it has. So I know that seems like it's taken a long time to essentially pull out first names and last names when, you know, with the flash fill, you say, oh, you could have done that instantly. But this is a completely repeatable, consistent method. You know it's going to work. If you add new email addresses in, it's going to pick them up instantly. And you can pass this spreadsheet on to somebody else and it's just going to work. Yeah, so you're not asking them to do some kind of flash fill and they could get it wrong. I'm just going to go for full name just so that you can complete the exercise. We can see how we can combine these. Now you could use functions to do this. Concatenate and text join might be 2 that you might want to look into if you're trying to combine a lot of information together. But with just 2 things like this, I'm just going to combine them using the ampersand and a space in between. So I just say I wanted the first name and a space and the last name there, and hit enter. And again, we've got a table, so it's just all going to fill straight down. And just as an example there, so, you know, that's 400 odd. We can be sure that's right with a flash fill. You know, there might have been some oddities in here, something gone slightly wrong, middle names not picked up, things like that. This we can be sure has worked. And I'm just going to put a whole load of new email addresses on the bottom here. And if I paste those down on the bottom there, you could see these formulas pick them straight up and we've got everything else. We don't need to redo any kind of flash fills and stuff. So there you go, using functions to extract data from within text. Ideal if you need it to be repeatable or pass it on to somebody else. Okay, so the previous 2 examples there, the name was already kind of built into the address, right? So, but what if when you extracted your data, you just got literally the email addresses? But, you know, everyone here works for Excel. You don't really, by the way. All these addresses are made up by incidentally, so don't try and email any of these people. They don't exist. But we've got a consistent format there. We can see that we've got a first name, a dot, and a second name at upforexcel.com. So we want to turn that into a list of names. So again, I'm going to be using functions to do this. So I'm going to turn it into a table, Control T again, get that as a table. I already made that format my default, so it's going to look nice from the start. Again, something similar, I'm going to want to know where the dot position is. So let's make a column called dot position. And I'm going to need to know where the at position is, so let's do that. It doesn't like that in tables because it's a notation in tables, so I just put a space in front just to get that as a column header. So dot position, exactly the same thing. We're going to find dot within that text. We don't, incidentally, anything in square brackets on this prompt here, we don't need to, it's an optional argument, we don't need to use it. So hitting enter, we'll get our dot position. I'm going to copy and paste that exact same formula for ease of use, or speed, and just change that to an at symbol. Now we have our at position. So exactly the same as before really. We're now going to be able to extract the first name and last name. So first name, again, we're going to use the left function to extract those positions from the left. -1, of course, because we don't want to include the dot. So there we go. Now, it's not very nice. We want to capitalize the first letter of that. And so there's a few functions we can use in Excel that deal with capitalization. So the first one is upper, and that would give us the uppercase. So we get uppercase names there, example. But lower would give us lowercase. But actually, if we want to capitalize the first letter, there's a function called proper, which is the proper case. And that's ideal because for a name, that's exactly what we want. For proper nouns, we've got a name, capitalizes the first letter. So we've just embedded that whole function in there. And of course, we could do exactly the same thing with the final name. So again, we'll use the mid function there on that text. And it's let's just start there for the moment and take the difference between the two as the length. This is going to give us something a little bit odd looking, of course, but we can see kind of how it's odd. So if we add 1 to the start position, we then get that @ symbol. We'll take 1 off. So rather than kind of work it out this time as I did before, I've just sort of played about, a bit of trial and error really. But that's again the beauty of having a table with all your formulas automatically changing, because you can just change it in one place. Everything's changing. And then again, we've got our function now. Embed the entire thing in a proper. So that was tab to do that. I can hit end to go to the end, close the brackets, and hit enter. And there we go. We've got first name, last name, and we could combine that, of course, in exactly the same way as before, so I won't go through that again. So that tells you, so that's how you can create a list of names from email addresses. Okay, getting a little bit more tricky now, because what if, and this does happen a lot, you copy all of the massive long list of email addresses from Outlook or Gmail or Yahoo, something like that. You whack them into Excel and they all land in a single cell like that. What a mess. How are you going to deal with that? Now, I've got 2 examples here of how you deal with it. One is how you deal with it right now. You've got Excel 365, modern Excel, highly recommended. And the second is a bit of a legacy workaround. You don't have that. Because if you have modern Excel, you have the text split function. And this is ideal because you can just say, well, I'm just going to break that list up into multiple cells. So that's the text. Remember, everything is in that cell, even though it looks like it's spread across. What's my delimiter? Well, it's the semicolon. I can ignore all the other arguments. So that has split everything out into separate cells. And if I just widen this so you can see what it's done, you've got a single email address in that cell, and then another one in that one, another one in that one, etc. But they're all in columns, so it's not ideal. It's not exactly as before. So I want to change that into a list. So I'm going to embed that in the transpose function. And when I hit enter on that, we get now a spilled down list of all our email addresses. And there's only one slight issue, and I don't know if you can see it on screen, but we've got a slight indent on all except the first address. And the reason for that is because there's a space after each semicolon, and that's easily dealt with. We can just change that, put a space after there, hit enter, and that completely corrects that situation. So we're pretty much back to like a big long list of email addresses, how we were before, but there's a subtle difference actually, and it's quite important. And that is we're now dealing with a spilled array rather than a traditional sort of list in Excel. So I can't turn it into a table, but I can still run all my formulas on it. And there's some formula shortcuts we can use because we're dealing with a spilled array. So I'll just allude to those in a minute. So for example, if I wanted to work out where the email address started with the triangle, I could put my find formula in as before, like that. And where it comes to say within text, if I click on that, if I now put a hash sign on the end, it tells Excel that I want this to apply to the entire spilled array. And so when I close the brackets and hit enter, it then spills that formula all the way down the column. And so I don't need to worry about if I put in a new list in there and this is slightly longer or shorter, this will pick up the correct length. I don't need to drag the formulas down or whatever. So other than that, if you just apply that same technique, put in the hash sign, all of the rest of it is exactly the same. You're just dealing with spilled arrays. So all of that, if you've got Excel 365, you're well away. And incidentally, again, just as a reminder, all these functions that I've been using, pretty much all of them are on my list of 33 fantastic functions, my new free giveaway with Up for Excel. So address to get that is in the description. So just click on that and that'll let you download that cheat sheet along with all current Excel functions. Okay, what if you don't have Excel 365? Well, you're going to need to use a couple of legacy techniques. So the first one is text to columns. So this is the same data piled in there. If I go to the data menu, you'll see there's a function called text to columns. And when you click on that, you'll get a bit of a wizard come up. And it allows you to split basically pieces of text into various columns. So if we say delimited and we use the semicolon, you can see, where it's putting the lines, it's going to break out all those email addresses. So I can just hit finish, and it's effectively done pretty much what the formula did, but it's done it in a kind of manual way, really. So it's not repeatable. So next time you're going to have to do it, it's not automated. And not only that, it's not transposed it. So I'm going to have to highlight all of that, Control Shift and the arrow right, copy it, and then I'm going to paste it, paste special, transpose to get my list. And it's not a spilled array, it's just a normal sort of list. So I could turn it into a table if I wanted to, but of course we've got this slight issue now with the space. And so a new function that I'll just tell you about is the trim function. So I could use the trim function, which will remove sort of trailing and leading spaces and things from text. So we'll do that like that. And if I double click to paste that down, I'll just make that wider. You can see now that I've got a nice clean list. And rinse and repeat, really. Go back, you've now got something like the start of example 1 you can use, your flash fills or your functions or whatever on that. So that is how you deal with legacy kind of data that's shoved into a single cell, and you don't have Excel 365 and access to all these new super functions to deal with that kind of stuff. One last point to mention is, I know someone's going to mention it. Oh, you could use Power Query to do this. And of course you can. It is Power Query's bread and butter work, this sort of stuff, like manipulating dirty data and things like that, cleaning data, transforming it, stuff like that. But I just wanted to show you how you can do it all with functions, because sometimes, although Power Query is fantastic, there's a lot of people that don't know it. And if you're producing spreadsheets, especially for other people, they're not going to be able to understand what on earth has happened. You've sucked something into Power Query, you've done a load of work in there, it spits the answer back out. Yes, you hit a refresh button, but no one can see how it was done. So just bear that in mind. Remember, if you want to get your hands on my 33 fantastic functions for Excel cheat sheet, then there's a link in the description. It basically lists all of the functions, their category, what they do, typical use cases that I use these functions for, functions that you can learn that are in the same family, how useful I think they are, and how complex I think they are. But as a bonus, you also get every single Excel function listed in here. You can sort it, filter it. You've got Microsoft's own description of that function, and I've got on here whether I think it's useful, essential, or optional. And big hint, there's 500 plus functions on here. I think 33 are either essential, important, or useful. The rest, 95% odd, optional. So click the link in the description if you want to get your hands on this. Hopefully you'll find it really, really useful. It'll save you loads of time, because with these 33 functions you can do pretty much anything you ever would want to do in Excel, and it's just going to save you a whole load of learning time, and you can get really efficient, really quick at just a few of the functions. That's it for this video, but there's so much more on the Up for Excel YouTube channel to get you better Excel results faster. So go and have a look, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and tell me in the comments what you want to see me talking about. I want to focus on saving time in Excel, getting you better results faster. So tell me what you want, I'll listen to it, I'll give you some great ideas for new videos in the future. See you soon.